I've got something in my front pocket for you. Why don't you reach on in my pocket and see what it is? Then grab onto it, it's just for you. Give it a little squeeze and say, how do you do? Something in my front pocket for you. Why don't you reach on in my pocket and see what it is? Then grab onto it, it's just for you. Give it a little squeeze and say, how do you do? There's something in my front pocket. There's something in my front pocket. There's something in my front pocket.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another awesome episode of Talk Gaming. I am your host, Lukey Poo, and we have a lot of cool topics today. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about, so let's just get into it. I will say, I'm a little sick. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but you can probably hear it. Little congested, little sore throat. I think it's just because in Colorado this time of year it's incredibly dry. Like literally the humidity is 0. So it just happens that everything gets dry and kind of messed up. So it's normal. I'm used to it. But if that's why I take excessive drinks of water and sound a little stuffy, that's why. Just heads up, just in case you were concerned for some strange reason. Anyway, let's get into it. Today was part 2 of Nintendo's announcement of the Switch, the Nintendo Switch. Now, last night was the main press conference or announcement in which they unveiled this device. More specifically, what I was hoping for was technical specs, information about what is inside the actual Switch, what I would be buying if I were to purchase one. And I was looking forward to seeing some cool exclusives or cool announcements that would make it so I had to have it and I needed it and I couldn't get my brain off of the idea of owning it. But no. Instead, what Nintendo has done is they've announced a product that they haven't specified clear technical specs of. They haven't shown off hardly any truly interesting, at least to a player like me, exclusives or games that are available on day one, launch titles. You've got Zelda Breath of the Wild, which as a viewer messaged me on Facebook and said, am I really the only person that doesn't seem to care that much about Zelda? I don't really get all the craze. I'm the same way. I don't really understand it. I don't understand why people are so pumped up for it. Sure, Zelda games can be fun, but I'd much rather play a new Assassin's Creed or God of War or a new Dark Souls or Bloodborne spinoff, something like that. I would love that. But Zelda, I don't know. It just doesn't really appeal to me anymore. It did when I was going to the orthodontist and they had it. I think it was Ocarina of Time, and they had it on like in this glass case, and you could go in. They had a game room while you were waiting to go in to get your braces adjusted, and you could play it. And they had like a bunch of PS2 games, and it was fun. And we had a good time leading up to the pain that was the orthodontist. But that's really the last time I cared. And that might make me a bad person, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm not really sold by Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm not. Sorry, not sorry. That's just me. Take it or leave it. But also, the new Mario game looks interesting. Looks like it could be fun, especially to play on the go. It's not a game that if I had the option between my library of what I would call more, I don't know, I don't want to say more serious games, but more adult-geared games. If I had my option of more adultish games, I would probably play Battlefield 1 or, a Battlefront sequel instead of Mario. That's just me. But again, in general, these exclusives don't really appeal to me. But the major thing is that Mario isn't coming out till the fall. And the Switch launches March 3rd, I think it was. 2nd or 3rd. I believe it was the 3rd. So they expect you to buy this console with really only one major game launching at the same time. And that game costs $60. And they expect that to be justification for it. I don't really understand that. Everyone I've talked to many of my friends about this because I was like, am I going crazy? This doesn't seem to be enough to really like grab people and make them interested in it. I don't understand, but apparently I'm not alone because all of them are saying, yeah, no, why would I don't care about Zelda that much. So I'll just wait till the fall and pick it up in a bundle discounted for the holidays with Mario. Like, why not? And that's apparently what at least the majority of the gamers that I've talked to are going to do. They don't get why they would need to buy it in the next 6 months. And I'm on the same place. I'm like, if games come out and if I can play a bunch of these AAA titles from this generation, and I can play them, sure, at 720p, which is apparently what the screen is, but 720p at 60 FPS on the go, I would seriously consider buying it, especially if I'm in a car trip or something and I need something fun to do. If I get the AC adapter, plug it in, battery life isn't an issue. If you're not doing that, then battery will probably last about 2.5 to 3 hours. They said 3 to 6, which Apple does this all the time where they're like, you can get 7 to 10 hours of battery life. And then you get like 5 doing actual stuff with your computer. So in reality, probably about 2.5 hours of actual gameplay. But with a AAA title, a 2016 or 2017 title on the Switch, I would be okay with that, even if it is at 720p. And even if they have to go back 720p at 30 FPS to play like The Witcher 3 or something on the go, I'm sold. Take my money. Shut up and take my money. I will do that. I will take my money right now. But it's not clear if that's ever going to happen. And Nintendo is, I don't know, it's hard to read where they're going. They talk about all these exclusives. Companies like Ubisoft are saying that they really enjoy it. But again, they said the same stuff about the Wii U. And I just don't get it. And the Wii U, how could I forget this? The Wii U. Zelda comes out on the Wii U. Unless they're going to change it right before it launches because they realize everyone that is a real Nintendo fan and therefore probably a real Zelda fan, the only ones that would be super excited about a Zelda game, they probably bought a Wii U. They're probably one of the 11 million or so people in the world that purchased a Wii U that are going to just buy Zelda for the Wii U. It's going to look basically the same. And it's not going to matter. And they'll just wait till Mario comes out, pick it up, discounted. It'll be great. There's no reason. I don't know what they're thinking. Zelda should not come out on the Wii U if they want any sort of like leverage to get gamers and consumers to buy it. And this is something I also want to just address very quickly because I have a tendency to sidetrack, as I'm sure you're aware. When I say something like they need to keep Zelda off of the Wii U, when I say that, I'm not saying that that's what I would personally wish for as a gamer or as a consumer. Consumer-wise, they should put it on any device that they're capable of putting it on. They should put it on the Xbox One, the PC, and the PS4. But I'm talking strictly from a business standpoint. Of course, I think that goes without saying. I would like it available on any device whatsoever. I would love it to be able, and I would probably be more likely to play it if it were available for the PS4 or PC or Xbox One or something like that. But it's not. So I'm just saying as a company, if you're trying to sell a product, you need to give this air of exclusivity. Like you can't make it available for everyone and then try to use it as leverage to get them to buy this new product. There's really no reason to buy that new product now, unless you're really sold on the portability, which not a lot of people are because it has a 2.5 hour battery life. And we haven't really seen a lot of it in action. What they should do is they should send one of these switches off to somebody like Boogie2988, or they should send it to IGN and say, hey, test it, rigorous testing, like all these laptop manufacturers will do. They don't usually send it, but they'll send it to, or somebody will get it and they'll review the product and then consumers can decide what they want. So don't even think about buying the Switch until you have read a review that tells you in real terms whether the display is just so atrociously ugly in 2017 eyes to use. And therefore you shouldn't use it. Just wait till generation 2 and go from there. Like, read a review first. And in all likelihood, really, Nintendo's probably going to make it very hard to even buy one of these on day one. They do this thing time and again where they artificially create like demand and try to make it seem by limiting supply that there's this overwhelming demand. Well, if only 10 people want to buy the Wii U and you only produce 5, and then you're like, we ran out of Wii U's. Oh my gosh, it's so successful. No, it's not, stupid. They just didn't make very many because they want to make it seem like they're super successful. So just understand that when that's kind of going on, and when you read all these articles, which will happen, I'm predicting. The Switch will run out. It'll be gone on store shelves. It'll be like, oh my gosh, everyone. Oh, it's selling so well. I need to get one before it's too late. It's all fake. It's artificial interest by controlling and purposely creating scarcity. And that's something Nintendo's come under heat for in the past. But nonetheless, it's going to happen. I promise you. If it doesn't, I'll do something embarrassing on the stream, on the podcast. I promise. You tell me what something embarrassing is that I should do, and I will do it if my prediction does not come true. It is my pledge to you. And as you know, I keep on my pledges. I pledged that this podcast would go ad-free. And even though it's probably not in my best interest, I did it anyways. Because I'm a man of my word. Or just incredibly stupid. Maybe both. But anyway, the Switch, I don't know. Nintendo continues to baffle me. And they seem like they're always a few years, or at least a few steps, behind the rest of the industry and what consumers want. The Switch has 32 gigs of built-in storage. That might not seem like a problem, but when you look at most modern titles, that's a problem. Because if you want to have it installed on your device, seemingly you won't need to download the entire game onto your Switch, especially since they're using cartridges and kind of SD cards, essentially, with higher transfer speeds than a lot of CDs in the past have used. But nonetheless, it has to bring some of that stuff onto the device. And so with 32 gigs, a huge chunk of that being used by the device for its OS, you're looking at maybe being able to have 1 or 2 small games installed natively on the device. Now, it's very possible that they just outright don't want you to install games on your device. They say, I heard from somebody, there is expandable storage, so you can put a micro SD card slot or a micro SD card in there. Kind of like one of my Note 7s that I was using, where you can just expand the storage. You put in the little micro SD card, and all of a sudden you've got 256 gigabytes of extra storage just right then and there. That's probably what they're going for. They want you to kind of create the storage yourself, or they just want to outright avoid it and just say, nope, bring your cartridges with you. Do it. We don't want you downloading anything onto the device. That's possible too. Again, we don't know because they didn't tell us any of this stuff at the press conference. They spent an hour talking about a bunch of stuff nobody really cares about, and then they're surprised that gamers are freaking out and that their stock drops 20% in like an hour and a half. Slight exaggeration, but their stock did drop off a cliff after the announcement. Pretty startling how sharp it dropped off. And I would be completely understanding. I completely understand why Nintendo shareholders on the Japanese exchange said, oh, no. You're charging $299 for a device that lasts 2.5 hours on the go, that has no real exclusives that are getting people excited about it, and you expect them to buy it on day one with the new game that they can get on an older console. What are you thinking? And I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're thinking. Nintendo, I don't want you to be screwed, but you're reaching this point of no return where if your shareholders look at the Switch, and this is really their last chance at hardware. If they look at the Switch and they say, this didn't work, You guys are incompetent. You can't do hardware. Just make games. Find a way to put Mario on the PS4 and Xbox One. I know it's going to hurt you because then you can't have this iron fist where you control all the gameplay, where you control every element and micromanage how gamers play, how they share. I know it's going to be hard for you to be a decent company in terms of consumer rights, in terms of sharing their gameplay experience on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter, sharing even a screenshot of a Mario game or Mario Kart match. You can't do. It'll get taken down. I had a friend who posted a short, 5-second clip of Mario Kart onto Twitter, and he got his account suspended, and it took him 3 weeks to get it unsuspended by saying, I honestly didn't know. I mean, it's 5-second clip taken from a secondhand source. It wasn't like I'm profiting off of this. And they said, well, it's whatever, but it's not worth the fight. Nintendo is, if you're talking about an anti-consumer company, Nintendo is one that a lot of people still love. But really, when you look at what they've actually done over the past few years, if EA were doing this, people would be freaking out. If EA were making it so you couldn't record gameplay of their games, and if you did, then they would put a copyright strike on your YouTube channel and then take all the revenue. So any work that you did to create that video as a content creator, you don't get. And I know it's oh, poor YouTubers, whatever. I'm saying this from a completely objective standpoint, or subjective standpoint, where I'm just saying, clearly they don't want any sort of dissenting view. They don't want gameplay. They have this weird archaic view of video games as a whole, where they don't want it shared on social media. And it's dude, I'm trying, I did the video just earlier this week discussing the Switch leading into the event, and I had to use Assassin's Creed footage because I couldn't put Mario Kart 8 footage without them doing just what I said, striking my channel. They're pretty anti-consumer. They're pretty anti-modern gaming, because modern gaming is based on, whether you like it or not, it's based on social media. It's based on YouTube. It's based on all these things. That's why gaming is probably the largest genre of videos on YouTube as a whole. We've completely taken over the platform. And sure, there's other stuff. There's news, there's political discussions, there's how-to videos, there's toy reviews and all that. But gaming is probably the largest in terms of actual demographics, the largest group on YouTube. Gaming is incredibly, modern gaming is centered on the YouTube space and on social media. And for Nintendo to just outright say, no, we're not doing that, and to, even after the fail of the Wii U, to still have these archaic policies where they say if you post a video of you playing a game of Mario Kart with your friends, we're taking over your channel. That's just mind-blowing. No wonder the Wii U failed. You're giving us no reason to recommend buying your console, buying your products, buying your games. If you were yeah, no, we're going to help you put stuff out. We're going to put in-game capture on the Nintendo Switch so that you just press a button and we record the games. Then you can share it with your friends. And then your friends will be like, that looks super fun. I want to buy a Switch. Then we can play with each other. Let's do that. PS4 does it. Xbox One does it. PC certainly does it. Nintendo? No, we don't do that. No, it's bad. Bad. We don't do that. It blows my mind. It's like they're trying to fail. I want to like Nintendo. I want to use a DS and have a great time going around playing these games. I want to like Nintendo, but they make it so hard to. And I don't know why. Let me love you. Finally get what Justin Bieber feels like. Oh, poor guy. Final verdict. Nintendo Switch, unexciting, uninspiring, unexciting. It's just not interesting to me whatsoever. If they get those big games on the console and I can play those on the go, even at 720p, even at 30 FPS, I will suffer through it to play them on the go. I would do it and I will buy your console. But if you keep this crap up where you're like, well, we have Breath of the Wild, which, more hardcore PS4, Xbox One, PC gamers aren't usually into. But we have this game, and then you can purchase it for $60 on day one. But you can also get it for your older console, so you don't need to buy this new console. You can wait till the price goes down, inevitably. And then, we'll just go from there. And maybe in a few months in the fall, we'll have another Mario game. And it'll be pretty cool. Other stuff, Skyrim, it'll come out eventually. Yeah, no, that'll be there. You've already had it for 5 years. Looks a little better. We have some new textures. That's cool. I don't care. Give me something I really want. If I'm going to give you $300, make it worth my while. Especially if I'm going to be buying the game again for $60. It better be worth my time, and it better be something I really am interested in. And that's my little Nintendo rant for the day. I'm sorry. It went on longer than I thought it would, but it's a big event. We've been waiting for this console to launch for the better part of 3 years. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. Let me know what you think down below. Moving on. Going off of the previous discussion with the Switch, I want to follow something up, which is the discussion on exclusives as a whole. We talked about things like Mario. We talk about things like Zelda Breath of the Wild. We talk about things like Splatoon, all these things. And I think people feel as though when I say that the Switch needs exclusives, I'm saying that I want exclusives and that exclusives are a good thing for consumers and for gaming as a whole. No, I'm not saying that. As a consumer, in an ideal world, of course, I would rather that these games come out on any platform, on any system, and really that there would only be one gaming system, that everything would work equally amazingly on it, there would be no glitches, that the games would be free, that the hardware would be free, and that I don't even know. Zoe Deschanel would sit next to me and give me a back rub while I'm playing. That's my dream. That's in an ideal world. That's what we all want. Okay? But guess what? It's not an ideal world. It just isn't. And so we can say, well, yeah, but if you really believe that one day we'll have that, then we can. No. You sweet child. No. No. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I think there will be a coalescing. I think that is going to happen. Look at Xbox One and PC. They're trying to merge the platforms together. And they have to figure out some of the marketing stuff. They have to figure out some of the sales. But it's all business oriented because they need to unify it. But the danger with unification is that then there's a monopoly. Monopolies are not good for consumers. So it's like BioShock Infinite, where you walk in that world at first and you're like, this seems really nice. This is great. And then all of a sudden you're throwing a baseball at a black person. It's going to come crashing down. You have to be careful with exclusives and with these hypotheticals because first of all, it's never going to happen. Second of all, even if it did happen, it probably wouldn't be as awesome as you think it is or would be. So what I would want, and in a realistic sense, what I want is to hopefully get as many good games on consoles as we can. But even the good thing about exclusives, I want to say this before I forget that I'm going to say this. Exclusives can be a very good thing. Now, I know not everyone can afford every console. I certainly can't. I got sent a PS4 from a viewer. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford it. I had to buy this camera. I had to buy this mic. I had to buy the stuff for this because I plugged the microphone into my PC case and it shorted out and fried a bunch of stuff. I lost 3 videos I had made and I had to spend a bunch of money on it. I had no money for a PS4, even though I really wanted one. And I wanted an Xbox One too, so I could play everything. But a viewer, out of the kindness and sweetness of his tender soul, sent me a PlayStation 4 with 3 games. And I'm incredibly grateful to you, and they didn't want me to use their name, but thank you for that gift. Honestly and truly, thank you for that gift. I recognize not everyone is as lucky as I am to get a console for free or that not everyone has enough money to purchase all the consoles and all the games and all the exclusives that they want. I recognize that. But the good thing about exclusives, negating that, besides that, the good thing about exclusives is they allow kind of the Apple effect to take place. What do I mean by that? Good question. Let me tell you. The reason Macs can work so well and smoothly, or at least have in the past prior to this generation of MacBooks, the reason that they work so well is because Apple knows exactly what the hardware is. They're not trying to develop the OS for a bunch of different graphics cards and CPUs, and then they're trying to get this to work with this and these hypothetical situations and setups and get everything to work, because they don't have to. They're creating both the hardware and the software. So when they're writing the OS, when they're writing these programs like Final Cut, which I've used in the past to edit videos, it's so well tuned that Final Cut, even on this like 4-year-old laptop, this MacBook, I can still render a video at the same bit rate and everything on this guy through Final Cut at about the same speed, maybe 3 or 4 minutes slower on this guy compared to my $1,200 rig through Premiere. And that's simply a result of this sort of optimization that can take place when you know the hardware. And that's why you see these exclusives that tend to look a lot better than games that come out on multiple platforms. And my go-to example for this would be, look at Bloodborne, which came out in 2015, and compare it to Dark Souls 3. Bloodborne, in my opinion, is a better looking game. And according to most people, it's a better looking game. Why is Bloodborne better looking than the game that came out a year later? Because that shouldn't happen. It should look better the newer it is, right? And they use, I believe they use the exact same engine. So why wouldn't they look better the newer they get? Well, because Bloodborne was a PS4 exclusive. You couldn't play it on PC like you can with Dark Souls 3. Yeah, there were multiple platforms to develop for with Dark Souls 3, whereas Bloodborne, they only had to worry about one set of hardware that they knew ahead of time exactly what it was. When they were playtesting it for bugs and for graphical stuff and optimizations to get these particle effects to work and for this lighting effect to work just right, when they were doing that, they only had to worry about one GPU, one CPU, one RAM configuration, one motherboard setup. They only had to worry about one set of things that they knew what it was. And so they developed for it. And it looks great. Dark Souls 3, all of a sudden you have to do, not literally, but about twice the work in terms of optimization. And that's not really possible, especially because the Xbox One, in terms of hardware, is a weaker system compared to the PS4, and compared to the PC, comparing to the PS4. The PC is incredibly varied and hard to develop for because it is so varied. And there's so many possible configurations. There's millions upon millions upon millions of configurations in terms of graphics cards, CPUs, RAM configurations, even storage between hard drives and SSDs and all. There's so many combinations for something like this guy to work. It's very hard to develop something finely for it. The game companies that do a very good job, but it takes a lot of extra work. And so when you can optimize for something, it looks really nice. And that's why exclusives can be so beautiful. That's why Uncharted 4 can look so good, but other games that came out at the same time look, in terms of units, maybe 3 years earlier. They look just not even close to as beautiful. But it's because Naughty Dog is developing for one console, one system, and they can really fine-tune exactly what they're trying to get. So that's one good thing about exclusives, is that you're going to almost always get very good graphics, very good optimization in general, and you're also going to have a lack of issues with bugs because they're only bug testing for one device. I mean, of course, if you're talking about Bethesda, that's not going to happen, but they don't do exclusives. Bugthesda, as a friend of mine called it this week, and I was like, Bugthesda, I love it. I am so talking about that. I'm so using that from now on. Bugthesda. How have I not heard this before? I don't know. Maybe I haven't. I've just ignored it. Blissful ignorance with regard to Bugthesda. Anyway, but yeah, exclusives in an ideal world, they would not exist. I grant you that. But it's not an ideal world, and living and dealing in hypotheticals can be incredibly dangerous, and it's a slippery slope because then you start demanding things that can't happen. And really, exclusives are, in my eyes, a necessary evil in the world of gaming. Because, I mean, let's be real. One of the reasons, basically the entire reason I wanted a PS4 over an Xbox One were the exclusives. Because certain games that have been developed specifically for the PlayStation 4 are more interesting to me than the ones developed specifically for the Xbox One. Sorry, not sorry. Like, I'm not a big racing game guy. I'm not huge into Halo or Gears of War. So obviously I'm going to side towards the PlayStation. Because they've got Uncharted, they've got basically everything Naughty Dog has ever done, which is enough for me. But they got Bloodborne, they got Until Dawn, they got all these fun games that are exclusive to their platform. And so obviously that's going to interest me more than something on the like a racing game, like Forza, whatever. I think that's the exclusive Microsoft has. But I don't know, because I'm not interested really at all in it. Maybe I'm bad. Maybe I'm a bad person for saying that, but I don't know. It doesn't interest me. But consoles are a necessary evil in the gaming industry. They drive interest, they drive hype, and that's a good and a bad thing. It's good for the people who have the console. It's bad for the people that don't. But it can also drive people to go out and get that console, which is why they're so necessary for a company like Nintendo, like Sony, like Microsoft, to have great exclusives, so that it drives interest, so that people are like, I'm going to buy this console because I want this game so bad. I'm willing to spend the money to upgrade or to get that console or to get into the console space to begin with, which is pretty incredible. I was talking to a viewer that said that they were buying a PlayStation 4 after hearing me talk about Bloodborne. They're like, I'm so ready for this. Let's do it. They had some extra cash sitting around. They went out, they bought a PlayStation 4. Hopefully you're not disappointed. Hopefully you've played some of the Souls games before, or at least tried them so you know what you're getting into. I mean, Souls games aren't that hard. It's just a matter of learning the patterns and repeating them. I hear all these stories about rage quitting. I mentioned... Gave me a heart attack. I almost knocked it over. I was talking about GameStop. And I'm sorry, that was just funny. I caught that on camera. I'm happy now. I was talking about GameStop. And in GameStop, I was buying Dark Souls 3. And the girl at the counter, she's going through and she puts her CD in. And she's like, now, do you know about the Souls games? Do you know what you're getting into? And I said, yeah, no, I just finished Bloodborne and the DLC. I'm like, I'm OG, I'm good. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, they're hard. Do you want the specialty warranty for spills, drops, cracks, scratches, and rage quits? I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, our warranty covers rage quits, so in case you break the CD, we'll cover it. I was like, is this like specifically for the Souls games? She's like, yeah, no, it happens a lot more than you think. It's like, whoa, like, how do you do that? It's sitting in your PlayStation. You get angry, so you drop kick it or something? Even then, how does it break it? It's inside a CD cage. Like, what do? You get so angry that, I almost spoiled something. I'm not going to say that. You get so angry that, like, Papa Gascoigne killed you in Bloodborne that you take the CD out and you just rip it in half and then you, like, start eating it. Is that what's going on? Because if so... I think a lot of the criticisms of the gaming community are probably justified. But I wouldn't know, because I've never really rage quit a game. The one game that made me rage quit in the history of my experiences with gaming is a little game called Wick. Wick. Do not play that game. It's It is like jump scary, but it's also just so stressful. We used to do a series on this called, on the channel called The Rationalists, when we would play horror games rationally. Not really. It was more of an ironic title than anything else. But we would play the game, and we'd all be sitting around, and I was trying to play Wick. We were like, oh yeah, that seems fun. We're playing it, and I swear I turned into such an a-hole. I got so grumpy while playing it because it just, it's bad. It's real bad. And it's a good game, but it's so good at what it does that it's horrible, and I don't recommend it. It's real bad. And I don't get easily freaked out by horror games, and it's not that it was particularly scary. It's that it was so stressful and miserable and agonizing. And I was trying to do a playthrough of it for the channel too, which you can still look up. But I was trying to do a playthrough of it, and I spent like 8 hours on one level trying to beat it. And I swear I've never been so like ready to jump off a building. It was horrible. Do not play Wick unless you are like a Manichean and, self-flagellation with a PlayStation remote. It's bad. Don't do that. Another interesting piece of news that was sent to me this week from a viewer, which again, if you ever have anything interesting, make sure to send it to me on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. YouTube messages are hard because I don't get a notification. So if you ever send me a YouTube message and I don't respond for like a month, I'm sorry. I just honestly never think to check it, and it doesn't notify me when I get a new message. So really it's not a great place to do it. But Twitter or Facebook, great places. So definitely do that. But somebody sent me this article because I made a few videos on Star Citizen, mainly discussing whether or not it was a Ponzi scheme, because it really seems like a Ponzi scheme. And also discussing whether or not it will be the successor and be the thing that we wanted No Man's Lie to be. So those videos did pretty well. I think they're both sitting around like 80,000 views maybe. They're doing pretty well. And so somebody sent me this article, and it's interesting. A Star Citizen's developer has just hired a Xenolinguistic expert. What does that mean? Well, Star Citizen plans on having aliens in it, at least allegedly. They plan to have aliens in the game, and they didn't want you to interact with these aliens and just have them talk a bunch of gobbledygook and then just have little like subtitles or something. They didn't really want that. So they said, you know what? What should we spend our $130-ish million that we've raised from innocent working class people? What should we spend that money on? Let's hire somebody to write languages, to write alien languages from scratch, and then figure out the pronunciation and all that. Train voice artists or voice actors, I would guess, I guess they're called. Train voice actors how to speak these made-up languages, and then do the alien stuff, or use synthesizers to create the alien language and voices and things, whatever you need to do. But they hired a Xenolinguistic expert, which I thought was absurd and was crazy. But once I looked into it, I realized it's actually pretty common. The guy that wrote Fallout 3 story, I forget his name now. He was really fat when he made Fallout 3. Like, watch the developer kind of behind the scenes thing, and you'll see him, and he's like a marshmallow, right? He looks like the Michelin Man. And then he was on a panel for Fallout 4, and the dude is ripped. I don't know what he did, but he looks great. He lost so much weight. He's buff as a truck. Oh my gosh, I'm impressed. Well done, sir. But nonetheless, he was the one that created the sad excuse of a story that was Fallout 3, and then he moved on to Skyrim. And he was responsible for creating the chant that is in Skyrim, the big kind of title music, the that one. And that's actually like words and rhythms and music that they actually created specifically for Skyrim's theme. And then they went around and like the scratching and the claw marks. Apparently, they say that that can actually be translated and you can actually decode it and translate it out. I mean, I wish they would have just done scribbles and then, created a non-buggy game at launch, but that's just me. But nonetheless, they're allocating a lot of resources to the creation of actual languages for the game itself. And this is one of the reasons people are so excited about Star Citizen, and it's also the reason why a lot of people are incredibly skeptical of it, because they seem to be allocating resources to such bizarre things. Like, it's another reason why I was watching MrMattyPlays, a video he did on Fallout 4 probably a month or two before it came out. I was doing this earlier this week because I do want to talk about Mr. Matty in a second, but I was watching a video of his and he was discussing how this leaked report showed that they were dedicating a couple new artists and animators and sculptors and modelers and texture artists to work on improving the gore for when like you shoot somebody and their head explodes and the eyeballs go flying out. So he was discussing this and it was super excited, and everyone in the comments at the time was like, yeah, no, that's a good sign, because it means that like clearly if they're allocating artists and their workers into something seemingly negligible or irrelevant to the broad game as a whole, as like, carefully sculpted eyeballs that explode out, you see them for like 4 frames and then they disappear. Something like that, clearly the rest of the game must be phenomenal, must be well polished, there must be no bugs, they must have nothing better to do than this. Or maybe they're just bad at organizing who should do what and are fine with releasing a buggy pile of trash. You be the judge. You be the judge. I don't know. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying anything. I'm just stating 2 possible options. You can choose which one it is. Somebody gives me crap, and this transitions into what I wanted to also chat about, which was MrMattyPlays. Somebody says that I give too much crap to Bethesda and to Fallout 4 as a whole. In general, the reason why I bring it up a lot is because it's the one that brought me, right? And I want to dance with the one that brought me, but I can't. And the one that brought me cheated on me with, Debbie Schultz, and is over there and they're making out in the corner. I don't know. Is Debbie Schultz a real person? I just made that name up. But is over there dancing and making out with Debbie Schultz. And I'm like, my heart is broken. And they're like, what are you doing? Get back over. And I'm like, no, I don't want you anymore. That's Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is the one that cheated on me at prom. That's Fallout 4. I wanted to be good so bad. I trusted it, gave myself to it. And then it ripped my heart out and shoved it down my throat and then rubbed it around in the stomach acid, then took it back out, ripped it in half again, then put it back in and let it marinate and then ate it. That's what Fallout 4 did to me. Wanted the game to be good so badly, covered it for months and months and months, and then it wasn't. So it's kind of like my conversion story coming out of the cult that is Bethesda and the Bethesda Fallout 4 hype train, because it really is. In many ways, it felt like a cult. It was this group of people that all got along really well and everyone was agreeing with each other. And it was this wonderful echo chamber of loveliness and it was centered all around MrMattyPlays, which if you don't know who he is, he's a YouTube channel. He's a YouTuber, has a YouTube channel. At its peak, it was at about 290,000 subscribers. And when I started watching him, he was at like 32,000, I think. I started watching him late 2014. That's how long ago I was watching MrMattyPlays. And so I'm a long time fan and watcher of Mr. Matty. So when people say, like, I criticized him at one point, I don't even know when, and people were like, you're so mean and cruel. What did he ever do to you? I mean, that's so mean. No, I really enjoy his stuff. I'm trying to help him when I say he should move away from Bethesda, and I'll explain. In general, Fallout 4 is just the game that broke my heart and opened my eyes to a world of gaming outside of Bethesda, which after I've learned and after I was exposed to it, I found it to be much, much better. Much better. There's a video on Fallout 3. It's called Fallout 3 Sucks, and here's why. It's by DH Bomber, I believe is his YouTube channel name. Highly recommend that you check that video out. It's like an hour and a half long, but it's an in-depth analysis of Fallout 3 and why Fallout 3 sucks. And he tells you why, and he explains it. And it kind of opens your eyes because you're like, I remember like playing this game and then justifying that element to myself. But now that I look back on it, I can't believe I ever found it to be a wonderful game or a great game. IGN said that Fallout 3's story was incredibly deep and profound, and it was full of complicated and difficult moral choices. I'm sorry, choosing to whether or not to blow up a town for no good reason, like it's just you can blow up the town or not. We'd like you to. We'll give you some money. You know, the guy that wants you to blow it up just doesn't really like it, thinks it clouds his view from his tower. So please, that's not a deep moral choice. I'm sorry. And I talked about this back when I was covering Fallout 4. I said, if you really want like to give me a moral choice, maybe it's like a town that's full of slave traders. Maybe that. Or maybe it's a colony full of cannibals. Or NAMBLA is centered there. National American Man-Boy Love Association, I think is what it is. Or maybe it's like a town where there's innocent people there, but a bunch of mutants are about to come, super mutants are about to come in, and they're likely to overwhelm them in power, killing a bunch of them, and then enslaving and raping all the women, taking them as slaves. So you can choose to either end it quickly or to let them have a slight chance at survival, but more than likely die miserable, horrible deaths, or just be enslaved and raped every other day. Like, that's a deep moral choice where you're like, oh crap. Like, should I take on the responsibility of killing them and taking them out of their misery instantly when there still was a chance for them to survive? Or should I just say, no, they have a chance, so I'm going to leave it, or it's not my problem? That's a gray moral choice. Give me that and I'll be happy, and I'll compliment Fallout 3 every single day. But it wasn't that. It was just blow up the town or not. So I'm sorry, it wasn't great writing. But Mr. Matty, I think he's kind of the cult leader other than Todd Howard. And the way you know it's a cult is they call Todd Howard, the game developer and the game director for Fallout 4, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Oblivion. They call him God Howard. And I know this because I was in the group and they have all these memes of him with a halo on. It's kind of bizarre. And of course, it's all in good fun, but nonetheless, it's still there. And it really is like a cult, and he's sort of the cult leader, but it is catching up to him. And it makes me sad because I really think he's a talented YouTuber. I don't think you can get more than like 10,000 subs without being talented. I think you have to have some amount of talent to find any success on this platform. I think that's just a reality. So clearly he has some ability and some talent, but he made a just glaringly obvious error in the foundation and building of his channel. He put all of his eggs in the Fallout 4 basket. He was the Fallout 4 YouTuber, right? No one else really compared to him. He was the pinnacle. So when the game was announced, people got interested. They looked it up. They Googled it on YouTube, and they saw that he was there, and they saw that he had all these hundreds of videos on it. They subscribed. He went from like 50,000 subs to 250 in the span of about 3 days. I was blown away when I saw it. I was like, wow, man, that's impressive. Good job. That's crazy. And he kept putting out the Fallout 4 videos, kept doing it, building his audience, got to like 290, and then the game came out. And then they all started to leave because the game had come out. There's no reason to watch him. People are smart enough to realize, hey, it's going to be like another decade before we get another Fallout 4 game. And even if they're big Bethesda fans, they recognize that it's still going to be about 5 years before the next Bethesda game. So I'll clear up my subscription box and just unsub for now. That's the unfortunate reality of what they're faced with, of what Mr. Matty is faced with. And it's sad because his current monthly sub growth is negative 195%. He's losing anywhere from 60 to 100 subscribers a day. And it makes me sad because I want to see him successful, but it's just the nature of building your channel on one game. Not even one developer, but one game specifically. Even now, he still uses the Pip-Boy, or the Vault Boy, I guess, in 50% of his thumbnails. Like, dude, I want you to be successful because I like you as a YouTuber, but what are you doing? If you want to be successful, you got to move away from Bethesda. Gamers in general didn't like Fallout 4. I know you were excited for it. I was too. But I was willing and I was able to realize, hey, Fallout 4 is over. I didn't enjoy the game. And my audience right now really was excited for it. It failed. They see it failed. How can I give them something to do and watch and also satiate my want for an RPG open world thing? So I started covering The Witcher 3 and made some videos on how it changed gaming. And they're some of my most successful videos. Got me the most subscribers. And so I was able to shift and give them something they wanted. Mr. Matty has been doing this weird balancing act where he covers like Battlefront, which Fallout 4 fans are not really interested in. And like Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't know why you're talking about that. I don't understand. And I know I'm just a little YouTuber. I'm like 8,500 subs. I recognize that I probably don't have a lot of authority to talk about this, but I'm trying to help you. And if I really wanted to say this, I could say at least my sub growth is about 50 or 60 a day instead of negative that. So I didn't say it. I did though. I want you to be successful. I want you to find growth. And I love Mr. Matty's stuff, but he seems to be working against himself, and it makes me kind of sad. Plus, I think he's doing a disservice to a lot of gamers by propping up games that are objectively bad. He's hyping up thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people for a game that is no doubt going to be buggy on launch, going to be an just standard bearer for what we don't want in launches in general, with buggy releases, with day one patches that don't even fix the bugs, with making your game so it's completely reliant on the modding community to make it playable, whether it's bugs or even just the story. One of the most popular mods for Fallout 3 is a mod that takes out the entire beginning sequence. Now, like when the most ardent fans of a game, so much so that they're such fans that they learn how to mod things for it. When they create a mod to take out a huge chunk of the game, you know that something was wrong with it. Part of the game was so bad that even the fans recognize that it is better gone completely. That's a problem. And really, I don't think this is a controversial thing to say even. Bethesda games would not be even considered decent if not for the modding community. And they recognize this, which is why they brought mods to consoles. Really, Bethesda, I think, is actually fairly, I don't want to say anti-consumer necessarily, because they're just bad at their jobs. They're bad at what they do. Their job is to put out a fun, good game that's engaging, which they've done before. Don't get me wrong. Skyrim I found very enjoyable. But their job is to put it out in working order and to do that consistently and to keep the game up to date, provide high quality content and updates and fix the bugs that inevitably will pop up, but to fix them when they come about, not to rely on a bunch of your players to do it for you. That's lazy. That's stupid. I don't know. I could ramble about this all day. I'm going to stop there, but just understand I'm not necessarily anti-Fallout or anti-MrMattyPlays or anything. I want him to be successful. I just don't understand what the heck he's doing by sticking by Fallout. It's like he's shooting himself in his own foot. He's tying a ball and chain to his ankle, then confused why he can't run. I'm I want you to be successful, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? If he's even watching this, I doubt he'll ever see this or ever hear about it. I have a bad name over on his channel now because people know me as the guy that keeps criticizing Fallout 4. And I'm still small, but they still know who I am. Yeah. That's all I have to say on that. A little bit of breaking news, actually. God of War. The game developer, the director for God of War, said back around E3, he said if God of War's E3 trailer hit 15 million views, that he would treat players to something unique and exciting and interesting. What that means, nobody really knows. But nonetheless, he said it and promised it. And guess what? The trailer just passed 15 million views. Now, naturally, a lot of people started pressuring him on Twitter and saying, hey, dude, what are we getting? What are we going to get? I want something now. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And they were expecting something like a demo, something really big and awesome. He said, no, we can't do a demo. It would take too long, too much work. But we are going to give you something. And really, since we haven't gotten anything from this game since E3, not even any real news or updates, just them saying, yeah, no, you haven't heard anything, but it's going pretty well. We're on track. And I'm like, yay, I want that game. But he says, something is going to come. Something is going to come. And I'm sure they saw this coming, and I'm sure they were lining up a big gameplay or new trailer or something, cinematic trailer or something. Anyways, and now they can just pass it off as a gift for hitting 15 million views. But nonetheless, expect something from God of War in the next week or so. My personal prediction would be that it's going to be another gameplay trailer or maybe a cinematic trailer, both of which I would be just fine with. Or maybe even specifics on release dates and maybe story details. A story trailer would be cool. Just anything, really. I just want to know more about the game. I just want to know more about the game. I got God of War 3, played it at a friend's house when I first played it. I remember it being just phenomenal and amazing. And I tried playing the third one again, the remastered version, and I was going through it, and I got like 10 hours into it. And then I just sat back and I was like, wow, Kratos is an a-hole. Like, oh my gosh. There's this guy that's begging for help and he's trapped behind a cage. And what does Kratos do? Oh, he just burns him alive. Why? Just 'cause. Or, what's her name? Gaia is there, hurting. She had to let you go and fall down Mount Olympus just because, she was fighting and she was slipping, so she had to let you go. Couldn't waste her strength and time to try to save you and to lift you back up, so she let you go. What does a mature person do? They say, I understand, Gaia. I understand it's hard. I understand we are in a tough spot. I forgive you. It's good. I'll help you up. Because you're slipping off, I'll help you up. Here we go. Nope, not Kratos. He's like, I'm going to rip your arm off. That's a good idea. I'm a nice person. And I know Kratos is God of War. He's not supposed to be a nice, kind person. But still, damn, it's real bad. And seeing the different direction that they've taken with the new God of War, it's literally night and day. It's like a different series in general. It's like a different character. And it is supposed to be older. He's got a son and he's trying to raise him. And that game looks so just polar opposite to what God of War 3 was, where Kratos is this unsympathetic jerk. And now all of a sudden he's raising a son, trying to teach him lessons and teach him the good parts about himself, like being merciful to the animal and ending its life quickly and swiftly, and defending yourself against giant Rosie O'Donnell looking orcs and things like that. It's natural family stuff, but nonetheless the game looks so freaking interesting. I just want to know more about it. So that's my God of War rant for the week. Okay, and last but not least, we have to select our winners for the giveaway. I'm going to be doing this actually on a weekly basis. I'm going to be doing giveaways for 5 Steam games. They're random. I don't even know what they are. All I do is I send you a code that you redeem in Steam. That rhymed. That was cool. So it's going to be like a weekly thing, but it's to reward those of you who watch to the end of the video so that you know what and where you're supposed to go. Okay, so we're going to select them right now, live. The rules for this past giveaway were that you had to like my Facebook page and you had to also leave like a post or a message. So if you just liked, you don't qualify. If you just left a post, you don't qualify. You have to have done both. But here we go. We are going to select it live right here. If I can figure out how to access it. Where do I go? What do I do? Comments maybe? Comments? Yes. Okay, I got some here. Okay. Our first winner is going to be, and again, I'm not responsible if I mispronounce your name. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But I'm really bad with pronouncing names. If you've watched the channel, you'll come to expect this, but I'm really bad at pronouncing names. So just be ready. The first winner, and if you win, I know the suspense is killing you, right? The first winner, if you win any of these, all you need to do is go back to my Facebook page. You message me, message the page, and then I can send you the stuff and we can figure it out. But I need you to message me because the Facebook page stuff is complicated and hard to deal with. So you message me, say, hey, hi, I saw that I won. Here we go. Give me my stuff and I'll get you it. I just need you to message me. That's my little message. Okay, first winner, Arthur Ramses Zet. Arthur Ramses Zet. You left a comment January 7th at 4:33 p.m., at least my time. So congratulations. You win one of the games. Just message me and I will get you your stuff, your code. Let's see who wins the second one. Let me go here. Where is it? Here we go. Will Hutchinson, you win a game. So message me and you will also get your copy. Here we go. Who's going to get number 3? Who's going to get number 3? I wonder who might get number 3. This is so suspenseful. I just don't know who's going to win. I'm mainly just trying to buy time because I'm trying to figure out how to access the actual posts. There's no clear button in the app to go to just post. There's like messages and like the main page so I can see what I posted, but I don't know what I actually, where the comments for me are. Okay. Jelter Beckart. Jelter Beckart or Yelter Belkart or Beckart. You win one, so there you go. Yelter or Beckart. I think we're at 3 now. Let's see. Rodrigo Oliveira. You win one as well. And our 5th and final winner is going to be Maro M. Maza. Again, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. You 5 are the winners for this week. If you want to enter for this coming week, all you need to do is go to my Twitter page. Twitter. I believe the handle is @LukeStevensTV. All you got to do, follow me and tweet at me something. Just anything interesting, anything that you want to say, or any cool articles or news or anything really at all. Just let me know. Yeah, and do #TalkGaming so I know that you're coming from Talk Gaming specifically. So that's how you do. You follow, and then you tweet at me, #TalkGaming, something cool, something interesting. And you could win one of 5 Steam games. And they're all good. None of them are free games. I'm not giving you out like codes for free games. They're all worth, I believe the number is like above roughly $10 US is what their full price is regularly. And that can go anywhere from $60 is their normal price to down to $10. So it's really any high quality game. So just let me know if you won on the Facebook page. We'll go from there. But that's all I have to say. Oh, my game of the week. How could I forget my game of the week? That's amazing. My sister is moving. She actually moved today, this morning. She started driving there. She's moving to Michigan with her new husband. Hope she's happy, nonetheless. But she's moving. And one of the things we did over this past week to bond and to have a good time before she left and to take the stress of moving off of her shoulders, we played a game called Overcooked. Now, Overcooked is actually a Steam split screen co-op game. I believe it's on Xbox One and maybe PS4 as well. But it's meant to be a couch co-op game, which is what they call it. And it just brings you back to the actual co-op, playing a game together, sitting on a couch next to each other, playing a game together. And it's refreshing, and it was so much fun. It's simple. It reminds me of those days when we used to play Cafe World on Facebook back when that was a thing. And it's just pure fun. If you have a girlfriend, if you have a boyfriend, if you have a friend or a roommate that you want to bond with, want to play a game, play something that you need to work together at, it's great. It's so much fun. It's cheap. You can get it from g2a.com for like $10 or like 16 right off of Steam. It's a blast. It is so much fun. Highly recommend it. That's my game of the week. Let me know yours with hashtag game of the week down in the comments section below so I know you made it to the end of the episode. And with that, guys, thank you for watching. That's it. Episode 3 in the bag. Thanks for watching. Love you all. Peace out. Love you. Bye. Nailed it.